As a twisted and evil man once said, today will be a day long remembered. We have seen the release trailer. We have seen the gameplay footage. And now it's time to talk about what we know about Star Wars Squadrons. What's up, everybody? My name is Korangol. As always, you can find me at twitch.tv/Korangol, weekdays, 11 a.m. Eastern. So let's get into what we know. The first thing we know is that Star Wars Squadrons is going to be the first standalone Star Wars flight simulator game since 1999's X-Wing Alliance when I was 12 years old. For those of us who are familiar with those games, I think we are excited to see an update of some of the most nostalgic content we've ever been able to consume as Star Wars fans. I think we have a lot to be hopeful for. There was a lot of concern when the release was announced. First of all, it being EA. Second of all, the release trailer had no gameplay footage in it. But now that we've seen the gameplay footage, which is playing in front of you now, I think there's a lot to be excited about. I'm really optimistic, if not overhyped, about this game. It's clear that they're going to be taking the Battlefront 2 Starfighter Assault engine as the foundation for this game. They're going to be improving it in terms of maneuverability and physics, which is something that I've been very excited for a long time. The basics of this game, what we know. What ships are we going to be able to fly? You see most of them in this video here. There's going to be 4 separate classes. There's going to be the TIE Fighter X-Wing class, which is a more balanced ship. There's going to be the Interceptor, TIE Interceptor A-Wing class, which is going to be focused more around starfighter to starfighter combat. There's going to be the Bomber class, which will be the TIE Bomber and the Y-Wing, obviously based around capital ship engagement. It will also have some ability to engage other starships with munitions like missiles and warheads. Well, missiles are warheads, but you get my meaning. And then there will also be a support class, which I'm super curious about, that will be the TIE Reaper and the U-Wing, which we saw in Rogue One and also in certain episodes of Star Wars Rebels. I recently completed watching Rebels and Clone Wars just in tandem together, and it's really exciting to see Hera Syndulla as a character who appears in both the trailer and the gameplay footage. I'm really curious to see how they balance the classes, because traditionally and historically, as we all know, TIE Starfighters, at least the ones that are going to be in this game, do not have shield generators, whereas most of the Rebel Alliance New Republic ships do. So I'm curious how they're going to balance that from a standpoint of hit points. For those of you who have played X-Wing or TIE Fighter, playing those missions where you flew in a TIE Fighter or TIE Interceptor was always a little stressful, because you knew in a TIE Fighter that if you got hit 2 or 3 times by like a quad blast, you'd be dead. I'm curious to see if they're either going to compensate the TIE Starfighters in a way that makes up for the fact that they don't have shields. It'll be really interesting to see. I'll get into a little bit later in the video when we're talking about energy management as a concept in this game. All the Rebel New Republic ships will have 3 different areas that they can shift their energy into, whereas I'm curious what if it'll be 3 for the TIE Starfighters, and if it's 3, what they will be if TIE Starfighters do not have shields. What we know about the modes of this game. First of all, there will be a single-player campaign where you will play both as the Rebel Alliance/New Republic and the Imperial Navy. For those of you who are wondering why I keep saying Rebel Alliance/New Republic, it's been confirmed by the developers that the start of the quote-unquote good guy story is going to be immediately after the destruction of Alderaan. Initially, you'll see the Rebel Alliance crest in a lot of areas in the game. And then we'll progress to after the Battle of Endor, the establishment of the New Republic, all the way to the Battle of Jakku. So we're mostly going to be in post-Return of the Jedi world here, is what you should expect. As far as the multiplayer campaign is concerned, you will have to presumably complete the single-player campaign, because they've mentioned that in order to participate in multiplayer, you will have to be experienced in all of the ships. I wonder if it will be sort of like a level gate type of situation that you see in games like Overwatch, where in order to play in the competitive mode, you have to be at level 25. That remains to be seen. I'm sure it's something that you unlock in the single-player campaign at some point, but we'll see what happens. As far as the multiplayer mode, which is considered to be the primary mode of the game, There will be two different ways to play. Your basic dogfight, everything will be 5 versus 5. So there will presumably be some overlap in ship choice. And then there will be an objective-based mode that involves 3 rounds, where the first round is a 5-on-5 dogfight. The attacking team has to win that dogfight to progress to killing 2 medium-sized capital ships of the opposing team. And then if they can manage to take out the 2 medium-sized ships, they can then take out a large capital ship. The types of ships that we're going to be seeing for those medium cruisers are going to be Nebulan B frigates for the New Republic, presumably light cruisers like we saw in Star Wars Rebels episodes for the Imperial Navy, and then that will progress to the large capital ships, which for the Imperial Navy will be obviously the Imperial Star Destroyer. For the Rebels, it'll be the MC-75 cruiser, which for those of you who don't know what that is, if you've seen Rogue One, Admiral Raddus's capital ship during the battle over... God, I'm forgetting the name of the planet. Anyway, over the big battle at the end of the movie, it's the ship, the Profundity. I'm going to remember the name of the planet like 3/4 of the way through this video and just shout it out randomly because that's what I do. I just randomly shout words. What's exciting to me, though, is the sort of things we're seeing in this gameplay footage in terms of maneuverability, because there's a very distinct moment early on here where we see a TIE Interceptor perform a side slip. Now, for those of you who have either read the Legends books or have played the OG games, TIE Fighter, X-Wing, all that, in the Legends books, they talk about maneuvers like side-slipping, things that would happen in a zero-G atmosphereless environment, because I can't talk in English. Atmosphereless environment, meaning that there is no wind resistance to your ship. So you are able to perform maneuvers that you would not be able to do in an atmosphere. So it looks like in this game you are going to be able to do things like cutting thrust and pulling a 180 during a dogfight. So if someone is on your tail, you're not just going to be turning yourself in a perpetual circle or slamming on the brakes or trying to outrun them. You will literally be able to shift the energy to a different part of your ship, cut thrust, and invert your ship in 180 degrees to shoot back at your opponent, turn back around, and go on your merry way. It's very cool, which brings us into the energy management system that we see in a lot of these clips. And for those of us who play the OG Star Wars games, we remember that you could increase power to lasers or shields, and then it would then boost your speed or cut your speed, depending on which direction you did it. For the TIE Starfighters, it was only lasers until you got to the more advanced starships like the TIE Advance or the TIE Defender. Again, I'm curious to see how they will handle the energy system between the New Republic ships that have shields and the Imperial Navy TIE Fighters that do not. Presumably, there's either going to be a third attribute only on the TIE Starfighters, or they may just do lasers and shields, which is, it works. As far as controls are concerned, with the sort of advanced maneuverability options in this game, I'm very, very curious to see how they map this stuff out. In the old school flight simulator games, there were a lot of controls. It required using a joystick and a keyboard because the targeting had a lot of customization. The maneuvers, the thrust, and everything like that had a lot of customizations. So I'm curious to see how they're going to handle this, because they have said that you will be able to use I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but for lack of an official pronunciation, HOTAS, which is HOTAS, hands-on throttle and stick, which are the advanced controls you see people playing flight simulator games with. But this all has to work on console with a console controller. So the number of buttons that people are going to be able to press to control things on console are limited to those buttons. So there's not going to be, they're going to have to cut corners somewhere, and what I expect is going to happen is that they're going to cut corners on the targeting side of things as opposed to the maneuverability side of things. So I think you're going to be able to preset throttles at different amounts. In the OG games, if you cut throttle to 33%, you were more maneuverable. You could go all the way to full throttle, but you would lose maneuverability. I don't know whether or not they're going to use a similar system, but the targeting system in the OG games involved things like targeting your nearest craft, targeting a craft that was in your reticle, targeting the newest craft in the area, and I think what they'll do is simplify it to simply being some sort of scroll system to where you're scrolling through each subsequent target, which, if there's only 5v5, I guess makes sense. In the OG games, there were just so many craft and so many things going on that you basically get killed by someone sneaking up on you because you're trying to toggle through 50 different ships. So presumably 5v5 will work. The other exciting thing about this game is the combination of the fact that you can custom load out all of your ships with different mods, and there are 0 microtransactions in this game. You will not have to pay money to buy any kind of mods. All of the cosmetics, all of the mods are going to be earned through gameplay only. That is very exciting. Obviously, EA is trying to make up for the fiasco with the Battlefront 2 launch and earn a little faith back from the Star Wars crowd. The other bonus is that they are releasing the game for only $40. So I feel like even if the game isn't as good as I'm getting excited for, it's only $40. They're not charging me $60 for half a game. Anyway, custom loadouts. So you will be able to customize different components of your ship, much in the way that you would customize your weapon in a game like Call of Duty. Presumably, you will unlock those components the more you play each ship. We don't know that for sure yet, but it makes sense to me. It's the simplest way to have everything unlock, and you will be able to do things like different types of warheads, different types of hulls. There's been mention of a hull that will stealth your fighter if you are a certain distance away from everyone else's radar. It just seems like there's going to be a lot of options. So beyond the 5v5, talking to your teammates before each match about what ships you're going to combine to use depending on the scenario, you're also going to be able to custom load different components. One of the things that we see in the gameplay footage that's been replaying behind you, in front of you, I don't know, directions are hard. One of the things that you've seen is the TIE bomber with that really powerful laser that came out of the front. The developers have come out saying they based that on the episode of Star Wars Rebels where the B-Wing appears and has that super powerful laser cannon that is able to just demolish capital ships. So you'll be able to like swap out warheads for things like that. You'll be able to, I'm hoping, based on what was in the OG games, pick things like proton torpedoes versus concussion missiles. That's a little bit of conjecture on my part, but it makes sense. There seems to be a lot of customization that's going to go into this game, and that makes it very exciting. I think that's also going to develop certain metas the same way that it does in Call of Duty with which components are best for which ships. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to require a lot of teamwork, which makes me really curious what multiplayer solo queue is going to be, or if solo queue is even going to be an option. It seems like the more you practice with the same people, the better off you will be. What we know is that it's going to come out on October 2nd, so we have 4 months to digest and dissect every nugget of information that is released to us. I am super hyped about this game. I'm looking forward to streaming it. I'm looking forward to talking to everyone about it. Leave some comments and things that you're, in the comments below. If you are hoping for certain things to be added to this game, I can see a DLC in the future that adds new ships, obviously. So for me, who's been a diehard fan of the TIE Defender for a long time, it's very exciting. It's also cool to see, personally for me, now that the Legends books have been retconned, what they're going to do with the timeline beyond Return of the Jedi. Obviously, we have The Mandalorian already, but this is another big step into what happens between Return of the Jedi and onward. So, yeah. Anyway, leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys are hoping for in the game, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye, y'all.